Hey friends, Ebony Chappelle checking in here with something healing for your podcast listening and viewing pleasure. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of What's Good with Ebony Chappelle. All right, so if you guys listened to or watched the last episode, you know that I'm recording these from Colorado. I am here for the Theologian in Residence program put on by this beautiful Methodist church in Boulder, Colorado. It has been such a blessing. I've been doing some writing, some reading, some meditating, and just, all around just getting myself together. I also happened to have a therapy appointment while I was up here with my therapist. Thank God for virtual therapy. It's a beautiful thing. And it's just been a really, really blessed time. So, want to remind you guys, like and subscribe, rate and review, comment, like, share, all that good stuff to help support the podcast. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Ebony the Writer. And check out my website, ebonychappelle.com, for more about me and what I have going on. So, yeah, Colorado has been fantastic for me. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about my experience and some of the things that I get to do. At the time that I'm recording this is Saturday, and tomorrow is church, and I'm so excited. So what I'm going to be doing is one, I just got a text right before I started recording asking me if I would like to help serve communion. And I was like, yeah, I do. And it's one of those things where, you just do it scared because, and I haven't talked a lot about this, but I have a background in ministry. I grew up in church, have been heavily involved in church literally since I was born. That's how my whole family is. We were all really involved. I was kind of prodigal, like a prodigal child of the church. So in and out, based on different things that were going on. And then one of the last times I was involved in ministry as an adult, I experienced some pretty traumatic things that led to me just, leaving the church and being gone for a really long time. So, as a person who at that point in my life saw my future being aligned with some sort of ministry work, it was really challenging for me because I went through this period of feeling like basically I had forfeited that entire portion of my life. Like I just basically, like, it was over. Like that's really how I felt. And it's so funny how things work out because years later, I'm sitting here in Colorado. I'm going to be giving a talk after church service tomorrow. I'm helping serve communion. I joined a really beautiful church at the beginning of this year. I can't believe it's been a year. This year has flown by. I joined a beautiful church back at home at the beginning of the year, and we've been doing the testimony service since 2021. So it's just mind blowing how things work out. And one of the people that I have to that I owe a great debt for helping me to realize that a pathway was still possible and that God had not forsaken me and that those desires of my heart were still possible is my first therapist. I started going to therapy initially as an adult, probably about a decade ago, coming out of that church situation, because I just felt like I need to talk to a professional. I am losing it. I don't know what's going on. I feel so dark and so alone and hurt. So I just really didn't know what to do with that. And I just was like, if anybody can help me, maybe therapy would be the first stop. So started going to therapy, and after working with each other for quite a while, she started to ask me questions about ministry work and what my future was like and what role God played in my life and all of that. And at first, those questions were so hard to answer. And over time, they got a little easier. And as the healing started to begin, those questions got a little bit easier to answer, and my belief in God, my belief in myself, and my confidence grew in a way that made it possible for me to do what I feel like I'm called to do. So I say all that to say thank you for therapy. It's a wonderful thing, and I'm grateful for it. So, on today's episode, you're going to hear a conversation that I had with a beautiful, beautiful brother. His name is Muhammad Saahir. So, Muhammad is a comedian. He's also a therapist, and he's based out of Bloomington, Indiana, right now. And he is one of the coolest people I know. So I was so excited to talk with him and to bring this conversation to you guys. Particularly because I like to use any type of platform that I have to promote mental health and wellness, but to also show people that it looks a lot of different ways, that there's no one size fits all remedy to it. And also, there are black men out here that are healers and that are doing the work, that are taking care of themselves, and that are taking care of their loved ones and their families, and really doing what needs to be done to help heal us as a people. So I want to promote that narrative as much as I possibly can. So without further ado, without talking about it too much, I just want y'all to hear from him. So let's jump into my conversation with Muhammad Sayer.
Yeah.
Proper preparation.
No, six. Proper
Proper
planning.
preparation
Proper
prevents
planning
poor.
prevents. Mine was
Okay.
proper planning prevents piss poor performance.
Okay, so they added an extra P in there with the
Yeah.
piss. Okay, yeah, I didn't learn that one. I learned proper preparation prevents poor performance. So that's five.
Yeah.
Where did
That's
you learn that?
that.
Somewhere.
Hold on.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Am I clear?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Cool. Cool.
You
Cool.
are. So we
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
good to go.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm excited.
Me too. Me too. It's been a really long time. I heard you recently on the Balance Period
All
podcast,
right. Yeah. That's
and I
a
thought that was really great.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good. That's really nice. What they got going there, I like it. Ray was pretty cool, man. Shout out to you,
Hmm.
Ray.
Shout out to you, Ray. So, I like to start off these conversations by asking people what's good with them. So,
Okay. Thank
that
you.
can be anything that is making you smile. Put
Hmm.
well, one, I can spell your name right. That would be one thing. I'll take that credit and put it in the chat. I just happened to look and I was like, oh, that's wrong.
but
That's the wrong.
it's
See, I know too many Muhammad's. That's the problem.
but I do spell it two ways though. So you weren't.
Okay.
Don't feel bad.
Okay. So,
Honestly,
what's
I
the
was
difference
spelling
between the ways?
really. I probably shouldn't share this, but I'm gonna share it because I know you. One of them I use for like junk emails, and the other
Okay.
one's for like stuff I want. So
Okay.
if I know something come with a certain letter behind it, I'm like, oh, I gotta open this up like now. Like
Yeah.
this is real deal. No,
That's
but
actually smart.
long story short though, in real talk, I was spelling my name wrong for about 18 years until I got my driver's license. I saw my birth certificate. I said, yo, this my name is spelled with an A, y'all. Y'all let me
Wow.
spell it with an E this whole time, but it
So,
was a
nobody
long.
caught that?
I don't think they say anything to me, and they just let me roll with it. Again, I'm growing up with a whole bunch of Muhammad's around me, so I had
Mm-hmm.
MOHAs around me with the
Yep.
A on the end, and MUs with the E on the end, and a whole bunch. So I just fit right in. I was just another brother Muhammad.
Just another brother Muhammad. I love that. I love that. But before I got distracted and then just made us both distracted, what's
It's
good
gonna be a
with
lot of
you?
that. It's gonna be a lot
What's
of that today.
I think it'll be fine though. It'll be fine though. We'll
What's
roll
good
with
with me
it.
though?
Yes.
First of all, what they say, I'm 6 feet above and not below.
Yes.
First of all, I'm here. I'm grateful for that. What's good with me is my family's doing rather well overall. My kids are doing well. I feel blessed. I feel like I'm able to do kind of a lot of things I want to do, even though it may be a bit stressful from here to there. But overall, I'm doing what I want to do. I'm doing what I set out to do maybe 10, 15 years ago. So that's a blessing.
Wow. That is a blessing. That's amazing. That's amazing. So about what it is that you do, let's
Hmm.
talk about that. You are a professional therapist.
Yes, I'm licensed mental health counselor, LMHC. Uh huh.
Awesome.
Uh huh.
And you have been doing this for quite a while. You worked with students for a long time in a university setting.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you just do a lot of cool stuff. So, how did
Thank
you,
you.
you're welcome. How did you find your way into this career? Did you grow up knowing that you wanted to help people with their brains and stuff? Or,
Nope.
like, how did that happen?
Nope. I know I've always loved people,
Okay.
and I'm a community guy. We've talked before, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've always said I'm a community guy. I'm coming from a strong knit Black Muslim community in Indianapolis. Shout out to Nurullah
Mm-hmm.
Islamic Center. Um, so I grew up with a whole lot of community. My father being the imam, I saw him do a whole lot of work for a whole lot of people out of just care and love.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, how can I get paid for that? No, no,
You know what?
no,
But for
no,
real
no.
though,
But to
on
watch,
some level, yes.
yeah, but I did watch a whole lot of care, a whole lot of counseling. I
Yeah.
saw that before I knew what the term was. So I've
Mm,
always been kind of around people helping people. I've been around helpers my entire life. I've been blessed
yeah.
to be able to do that, or be able to experience that. So I think that kind of put that bug in my ear of be a community guy, be a
Mm,
helper. I used to want to be, in my terms, it was an obstetric physician, not an obstetrician, not an OBGYN, but an obstetric physician.
wow.
Very specific because I
Very
wanted to
specific.
save lives. That
Okay.
was my biggest goal in life when I was a kid. A little kid was to save a life. And I was like,
Mm,
well, the only way I knew how to do that was to be a doctor. And we used to watch a show called, maybe you don't remember this, maybe you do, Rescue 911. You remember that
Rescue
show?
911. I do not
You
remember that
probably
show.
don't because it's you
Yeah.
just missed it, but it was a show where they had
I thought
these
you were gonna say Doogie Howser at first, and I'm
up.
like, vaguely, I do vaguely remember that show being on TV.
Yeah,
But no, Rescue 911, I don't remember.
but that show was about it was pretty much a reenactment of 911 emergency calls, and
Okay.
they all kind of ended the same way. Oh, and we rescued the baby, or we rescued the family, or and I thought to myself, oh, I would love to just save someone's life.
Mm,
So I didn't know I'll be changing lives or impacting lives the way I'm doing it today, but I knew I wanted to do something to help someone.
yeah. So I'm just so curious around like where does that feeling come from? I know you talked about like what you saw modeled in your
Mm-hmm.
household and the people you were around, but you still could have decided to do like literally anything else.
Yeah.
So what was it like internally do you think that made you gravitate toward those sort of things?
Yeah. Well, specifically to counseling, I was in grad school and we were taking there was I was in a higher education student affairs program, pretty much work with college students,
Mm-hmm.
um, and get my master's in that, and there was a component for counseling that we had to take. And I took a class of that and said, yo, this is a better fit than all the classes I've taken so far. I had already completed about a year, maybe a year and a half of a 2 year program. Like I'm like three-fourths of the way done, and I found something at the end like, yo, this is way better than all the stuff y'all taught me. No
Wow.
shade. I finished the HESA program, and I still use those skill sets. But I was like, this is it. This is the one.
Yeah, it had to
Uh,
be to make you want to do more school at that point. Being almost
Immediately,
done.
like
Like, that's
I
deep.
did it right after. Like I had hooding on Friday, and on Monday I was in class starting my counseling degree.
Wow.
I
Wow.
was excited.
Yeah,
I felt good about it. I still feel good about it.
that's
Yeah.
good. What is it about it that still makes you so passionate about it,
Mm-hmm.
after everything that you've experienced?
Because I think it's because I love people. Like I genuinely love people. Like
Hmm.
I think we all do. I think at our natural state, we hope the best for usually overall we hope the best for people. We want the best for people. We have empathy for people. So that keeps me going. And when I talk to my clients, I'm never talking to the same story. I can
Mm,
meet with the same person every week. It's never going to be the same story. There's always going to be a twist, a turn, a up, a down. it's going to be something. And just knowing that I'm trying to work with this person collaboratively, it just kind of gives me keeps the juice going. And some
Mm-hmm.
people say keep you young when you work with certain populations, and I think that there's truth to that. Not necessarily working with youth. I'm just saying just
Mm-hmm.
working with just certain kind of folks. It's
Yeah.
going. It kind of keeps you going. It's. I think it's a beautiful experience. That's why I really like what I do. I'm blessed to be able to say that.
Yeah, that is a blessing because not a lot of people can say that
Mhm.
about their jobs. I mean, we're
Mhm.
literally living through a moment in time right now where people are bouncing. They're like, "I'm good.
Yeah. I
I'm
got
just going
yeah.
to quit right now."
Mhm.
Which you know, in your field, this is a very crucial time. I mean, you had to counsel people through the pandemic and
Yeah.
whatever the hell this is that we're in now, whatever
Yep.
phase of this is.
Yep.
Um, how were you maintaining yourself during the time of helping people like through one of
Mhm.
the craziest times that
Mhm.
we've ever lived through?
I don't want to come across as saying I know everything on this because I still don't know,
Hmm.
honestly. Because we're still so close to the forest right now. We don't know. We just don't know. Like you said, we don't know even know what this is right here. We don't know if it's the pandemic, is it post pandemic, or are we just
Hmm.
winging it? I think that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
Uh
feels like it.
yeah,
Feels
we
like
just
it.
was winging it and hoping that we don't get sick. That's pretty much where we are. So
Yeah.
I really don't know. What I tried to do was I tried to remain grounded as much as possible. I tried to be as normal as I could, and
Mm.
I was just winging it along with everybody else. By no means I want. One of my biggest pet peeves when people act like they know everything and they really don't. It's like you ain't
When
gotta
you
act
said
like
that
that.
on balance,
Oh
period,
man, that's
um, it triggered me, but it triggered me because I have been working on that
uh huh,
very much
uh
about
huh.
the having to know everything. Because I'm like, where does this come from? What is this about? But anyways,
Yeah,
back to what you were
yeah,
saying.
yeah. I try to stay grounded, and that was a tough time. That was an
Hmm.
incredibly tough time on a global level. Like we just hadn't seen that before. Like people
Yeah,
were stressing from the home all the way to like all the way from micro to macro levels. You have
yeah,
never seen anything like that. So to answer your question of what I do or how did I kind of help others, I just kept showing up kind of the things I've kind of preached to clients. It reminds me of working with someone who may have depression, for an example. It's like, well, yes, you have a depression. I don't want to invalidate that. I don't want to take that. I do want to take that away from you if I could, but
hmm,
I don't want us to not show up because you got to show up.
mm,
Sometimes you're going to have to show up even if you don't feel like showing up. We do it all of the time.
yeah. I feel like that's when it's most crucial. Is like when you
Mm-hmm.
really don't feel like doing it. That's
Mm-hmm.
the time when you probably really need to lean in and
Yeah,
go on and do it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was just showing up, and really, it probably gave me some escapism. It probably gave me some. It may have cost me in other ways. I'm not necessarily attuned to right now.
Mm,
But that's how I got through. I don't
yeah.
want to say I buried myself in work, but work was coming at me. I will tell you that.
I'm certain. I went through some interesting phases with therapy during the pandemic. So I actually had to find another therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to find another one after that. So
Mm.
I'm now
Mm-hmm.
at my third,
Don't
just in my
worry.
adult life in
Yep.
general. Yeah. And I was like, I really hate that this is happening, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just kind of what it is. But something else that's popping up for me, hearing you talk about just showing up and continuing to show up for your clients and stay grounded, something
Mm-hmm.
makes me feel like you had just always been prepared for that sort of thing to happen.
Mate. Whoa. Ooh. Say that again. Hold on.
I
Say it
don't
again.
know, it's
I'll
just
make sure. I'll make sure we're
something.
on the same page. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, it's something about like the way that you said it that just makes me
Mm-hmm.
feel like you were always ready for that sort of thing to happen.
Mm.
Maybe not
Okay.
knowing the specific details of
Yeah,
it,
I can see
but
that.
something internally. So it made me wonder, like, are there any things that you can remember, like maybe from your upbringing or whatever, that like made you feel like I can show up in really hard times and just
Yeah.
like have this sense of like assuredness that you could be helpful?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's pretty funny. I'm thinking about a few things popping up. But I think I'm going back to like my family groundedness. We did a lot of things together. Like there was
Mhm.
always like a central comeback moment with my family. We prayed all the time. Like literally, we pray. Often Muslims pray 5 times a day, right? Traditionally.
Mhm.
So there's always like this constant call back, literally a call, like come back and recenter. And a lot of that's like a mindfulness, all this mindfulness, this and
Yeah.
practice, blah blah blah. A lot of that sounds real familiar. Like it sounds like when I'm praying, or it sounds like things we've
Mhm.
learned hundreds, thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of having this constant recentering kind of helps to kind of map in my brain that if you can get back to this place of security, you'll be okay.
Mm.
If you can get back to whatever, like a lot of things can happen, but if you can always recenter or refocus, you can, one, what you're really doing is you're calming your anxieties that are naturally there. Because we are, as people, we naturally have an anxious state that has helped us to stay alive
Mhm.
for millions of years. That's the reason
Yeah.
why we
We can
ran
run
from the
from
saber tooth.
predators.
You're right. We ain't fight a saber-tooth tiger because there was something in us that said, "No, fam, maybe we should run."
Mhm.
So it calms that. But I'm thinking, kind of growing up, but also things I had to do I didn't want to do
Mhm.
as growing up. Also, I'm thinking specifically, I was on some pretty difficult sporting teams.
Mhm.
I mean, difficult. And now, shout out to my coaches. I appreciate all that y'all done. But I remember one time we was 0-15, one of my baseball teams, senior year. 0-15. The season's not over at 15
So
games.
y'all were up.
No, 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 no.
Okay,
We
y'all were
had
not up.
we had lost 15 consecutive
Got
games.
it. That is
I'm
not
talking
good.
like strikeout 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It was it was
Yikes.
tough. It was tough.
Yeah.
Now, as a senior, I could be like, F all of this. I don't need to do any of this. My senior
Mhm.
buddy's not here. But I stuck it out. Struck it out too with the rest of them, but I
I was
stuck.
about to say, yeah, the commitment is real
The
because
commitment is real. Come like we
whew,
are not doing well. But what
yeah.
did I learn through that is all right, my distress tolerance is higher than I maybe anticipated. That's
Mm.
some things I try to teach clients, like like some things going to straight up suck. I have a brother in the
Yeah.
army. He got a his saying he got from the army was embrace the suck. That's what they say in the army. And I saw a dude yesterday. That's pretty funny. At one of these hot tournaments with my daughter, with softball tournaments, hot to the mug outside, and the shirt said
Yeah.
"Embrace the suck." I was like, "Yes, sir."
Mm.
Like just take it,
Yeah.
embrace it, but show up.
Mm. This is extremely helpful. It's
Okay.
extremely helpful. Just because honestly, like that's real life. Like there are going to be a
Mhm.
lot of things that we experience that are
Mhm.
very beautiful and all that wonderful stuff, and then there are going to be things that just absolutely suck. And
Yeah.
sometimes they're happening at the same time. And
Mhm.
that's, really interesting. But yeah, I think it's just a part of it because I don't see things magically getting any better. I just
Mhm.
see us learning different ways to continue to show up,
Yep.
regardless,
Yep.
especially for people of color and other disenfranchised communities right now. I'm just like, there's is literally always something,
Mhm.
always,
Mhm. Yeah. Yep. Keep showing up. Just keep showing up. And the thing about showing up is you don't have to be perfect. You don't even have to be great.
Now that's really helping me right
You don't
there.
have to be great. I use the analogy or the example. I'm gonna share. I guess a funny. I guess it is a funny story. I went to go see the great Michael Jordan play basketball. I was so excited. He
Mm-hmm.
when he played for the Wizards, last go at the
Oh
Pacers.
yeah, that time that was an
Oh, and he
interesting
was throwing
period.
like buckets up there. I was like, "Hey, this is Jordan." I'm so
Mm-hmm.
excited watching him warm up, and he's doing his thing. I'm like, "Oh my God, it's Michael Jordan! Michael Jordan!" This brother went out there and scored 6 points. It was the lowest he had ever scored in his career at that time.
Mm,
I was devastated. I said, "Oh my God, he hit more layups in the layup line than he did
yeah.
in the game. Two of them were like free throws. I was mad." But then the following game, he bust out half 40. I think it was like the most someone over the age of 40 had scored in the NBA. I was just
Mm-hmm.
like, I had just missed it. But anyway, long story short is you don't have Michael Jordan is one of the greatest, some will say the greatest basketball player of all time. He also had a 6 point game.
Mm,
His average is what? Ridiculous. So I look at I love sports for as examples because a player can average 20 points a game, 10 rebounds a game. That's a Hall of Famer.
yeah.
But he ain't gonna pull out 20 every game. Or she's not gonna pull out 20 every game. There's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
some games she bust out 45 points. Hi, dog, she did 45. And some
Yeah.
games she had 10. But just show up, see what you can do.
Mm. That's real. That's real because you think about if you were to quit every single time you just didn't immediately do well, it's like you would never accomplish anything.
Anything.
Yeah, which makes me want to. So I want to segue,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know I was going to talk about this so soon, but you do stand up comedy.
Hey, yeah, I sit down most of the time, but yeah.
So I like what you did there, but I bring that up because I am obsessed with stand up comedy.
But get on
Love it.
stage.
So I did once,
Yes.
kind of, sorta. So I did. I decided that I wanted to just pull the trigger on this.
Uh-huh.
Um, oh, I hate saying that, but anyways, long story short, I decided
Uh-huh.
I was just gonna go through with it during the pandemic because
Mm-hmm.
like we're at home. I'm just like whatever. So it was a Zoom stand up comedy.
Oh, how did it go? How
It
did it
went
go?
it went well. So it was just me and like maybe 8 or 9 other comedians,
Uh-huh.
and people just like shared thoughts after somebody went, and everybody like clapped for each other and stuff. So it was just really supportive.
Yeah.
And I want to do it again, but and I'll make this
When?
really quick.
When?
Um,
I'm coming.
sometime in the very near future, because now that I
That
keep talking
sound
about it, I'm
that
like, I
sound
actually
real
have to do
summer,
it.
fall, winter-ish.
No, okay, I'm gonna do it for real. I'm gonna do it for real because I have like written material and stuff. Like I have a basket of jokes. But
Okay.
anyways, so
Okay.
it's funny because when I first got the idea that I wanted to do it, I was in college and I had told my boyfriend at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
he said, "That's the stupidest thing I ever heard." And
Oh, I
I
hope you
was
put
like,
him in
"Wow, that's so
I
rude."
hope you put him in the joke.
No, I have jokes about him. I
Okay,
do. I
cool,
have quite a
cool,
few.
cool.
But anywho, I wanted to bring that up because, in studying people and reading different stuff and listening to things, people always talk about the fact that you just have to bomb, and like bombing's part of it.
Mm.
Like it's part of the process.
Uh-huh.
So I wanted to start out by just asking what made you want to do the stand up thing in the first place? Like where did it
Yeah.
even come from? And have you
Yeah.
bombed yet? Like how's that
I
feel?
okay. To ask the bombing question, I don't know because it's not really my call.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. Like you would have to wait to see how the crowd reacts. So
Yeah,
have you
because some
ever
people
had
like, I
your
killed it. Some people like, man, I was funny. Like, yeah, I didn't think you were funny. But some people may say Muhammad was the worst person on stage. Another person next to him may say, oh my God, he was so hilarious. So it's not my
Mhm.
call. I think
Yeah.
you get a feeling that you may have bombed or didn't do as well. Usually, usually it's like I didn't land something the way I thought it was going to land. That's what you
Okay.
never know because it's not. Again, it's just not your call. That's one thing I like about comedy. It's really not your call.
So you
Um,
like that part that is just kind of like not up
yeah,
to you.
I like. Now this is gonna sound kind of messed up. I like the ability to attempt to manipulate people to do what I want.
Okay.
So
Tell me more.
I'm trying to manipulate you to laugh at a certain time,
Hmm.
to pause at a certain time, to react a certain way at a certain time. That's
Mhm.
difficult to do, particularly you have like a room full of people. It's like I'm trying to get 45 people to laugh now. It's like a lot of people can't do that, not on
Mhm.
purpose. And I can cadence it to reference a joke from 5 minutes earlier, plan it here, and bring it back 20 minutes later. That
Mhm.
takes a lot of work. So that's why I really like it.
Yeah.
I just like the structure of it. I really, it's not like, I don't think I'm necessarily funny. I just like to write and
Okay.
entertain.
Yeah.
And that if you write, I think if you write well enough or you think well enough, you can get people to laugh.
I never thought about it like that, but I guess you have a point because you at that point you are able to pick up on different perspectives and different nuances in a
Hmm.
situation that most people wouldn't notice,
Yep.
which is the reason why I love comedy in the
Uh
first
huh.
place.
I,
But
I treat it
yeah.
like a paper. I treat it like a paper in college. I got a
Mm.
thesis. I'm trying to prove a point, and I'm trying to bring it back in.
That
That's
is
pretty
so
much
nerdy,
that.
but I like that.
It's so nerdy, but it works. People are like, oh my god,
Yeah.
that was so funny. It was so well put together. I'm like, oh, because I set you up like a freshman paper.
Mhm. Yeah. That is hilarious. But yeah, okay, so you don't know about the bombing,
Okay, yeah,
which is a good way to look at it because you're like, nah, I mean,
it ain't my call.
yeah, yeah.
But what made me get into it? So I like
Mhm.
to. I've always loved comedy. I've always thought it was genius. I thought it was just something about it always made me, of course, laugh and think. But then after a
Mhm.
while, I stopped laughing as much and started thinking about, well, what makes me laugh? And I remember a
Mhm.
class I took, like an advanced English class that make you take before you leave undergrad. I rolled my eyes before I got into the class, but I'm thankful I got the class because one, it really taught me how to read. I know I've been knowing how to read my whole life, but there's a difference between learning how to read
Yep.
words and
Mhm.
understanding a structure of a paragraph to
Yes.
to get you to think a certain way, to feel a certain way. Why was this funny? And then as I started to break that down, I said, oh, that joke is funny because he used this nuance or she used this nuance and she tied
Mhm.
this in with that and all the symbolisms. That's why it's funny. So
Yeah.
I've always kind of enjoyed that. So after kind of getting a better understanding of word structure, word play, word meanings, double entendres, triple, quadruple, all those entendres, getting a better understanding of that, I just kind of fell in love with just words. And so for my birthday, I was doing something every year. I was just doing something kind of
Mhm.
ridiculous for my just. I don't celebrate a whole lot of stuff, so I just say, you know what, for my birthday, I'm going to do something ridiculous. One year I
Yeah.
had a space tournament. It got real. I may do it again.
Oh,
Uh,
ooh, yes, please.
I
Call me.
gotta post the rules because people got upset. They're talking about you can't do this, you can't do that. I say, what's my
Okay.
rules?
Oh
And
yeah,
then
let's make it clear up front.
we gotta make it really, really clear. One year I did like paintball. One year I had a masquerade party, and one year I
Mhm.
decided I'm gonna do stand up comedy, and it just
Fabulous.
clicked. I did it 2019, right before the pandemic.
Okay. Okay. So you're still like kind of easing into
I
it.
think I'm easing it. That's why I
Yeah.
don't know if I bombed or not. Ask me in a few years, you'll be like, yeah, I definitely bombed that one time.
Yeah, well, maybe you're just having really excellent beginner's luck because,
Maybe.
yeah, I've heard that story before too. That people they're like, yeah, when I first started, I was hot, and then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, like
Mm-hmm.
one random time, it just went the other way on them.
Yep. Because you
So
don't know what you don't
yeah,
know. You're like a
yep,
rookie shooting threes. They don't know how to defend you yet. But when they
yeah,
figure it out, brother, you better work on your left. Because they
hmm,
own to your right.
yeah.
Yeah.
The sports references are the best because
Yes.
I know just enough to follow along, and
Mm-hmm.
that's about it.
And I got so
Like,
many.
not a
I'm
sports person.
I'm so obnoxious when it comes to sports. I'm so like everybody
Mm,
else. I'm over the top.
that is hilarious. So, is there one that you watch more than others?
But comedians?
No, sports.
Oh, sports. Oh,
Because now I'm having a squirrel moment.
I watch basketball the most, but
Okay.
I loved baseball the most.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of boring to watch because the best
Very
baseball
boring to
game
watch.
is a no hitter. That's the best game when no one
So,
hits
what
the
is a
ball.
note? So, what makes that good then?
Imagine. a pitcher striking out every person who got up there. Like every person who got up there, it's like, nah, son,
Mhm.
sit down. Now, son, you out. Like nobody made the first base.
That would frustrate me because then there's no conflict. Like the whole
Oh,
point
there is
of a good
conflict
story is the conflict. So where does the conflict come from?
because who gonna be the one to hit it to get the first
So
base?
you're
All
constantly waiting for this
yes, it's
maybe thing that
it's
might not happen.
impressive. It's impressive when it
Okay.
happens, but it's so rare. But yeah,
Okay. Well, I can see. I almost said something completely
can we cuss on here?
inappropriate, but I'm gonna keep. Yes, we can cuss on here. But
Oh,
what I was gonna
we
say
should have
was a
said that a
little
long
out
time
there.
ago.
But I was just gonna say, I'm gonna go ahead and say it anyway because it's too late. Because now I have to say it.
Go ahead.
That's one of my problems. Is sometimes the impulse. I'm just like I can't help myself.
Mm-hmm.
But okay,
Mm-hmm.
so you're saying okay, you're just waiting, 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 and
Mm-hmm.
it's very rare or whatever. I was just like, this is like edging, but like with sports, like
Mm-hmm.
watching sports.
Uh-huh.
That is insane.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
can't. I'm like, who would
But
do
if
that?
but if you were at but I tell you this, if you were at the game and you about to
Mhm.
watch a no-hitter and you knew what was going on, you would be like, hold on. I cried like 1 or 2 tears on this no-hitter with Monet Davis. You remember her back in the day? Little Monet Davis, the little
Yes,
girl at the
yes,
time, the little girl at the
yeah.
when she threw that no-hitter, whoo! Oh, you ain't feel
Okay,
that in
now
your
something
throat?
like that,
Oh, you ain't feel that right here? Oh my God, that was so
that
precious.
would be different because it's like, okay, there's added layers to the why this is special. So I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, that I could do. But otherwise, I'm just like, no, I'm
But
good.
if you're there, you be like, is he about to strike out another person? Or is
Hmm.
his defense about to really keep these people completely off
Yeah,
of the base?
that's hilarious. I don't know. Maybe I would need to sit through an entire game to even like
Hmm.
appreciate that because I've been to baseball games, never sat through an entire one.
You
We
talking through the
always
whole
like
game
leave
too.
at some point. Yeah, we talk through
Yeah, it's a
it,
good
walk
time to talk
around.
and catch up. It's a really good America's favorite pastime for a reason.
That is so fascinating because I never thought about the fact that that is the reason why people were into it because it
You
gave them
pastime.
something to pass time and then
Yeah.
talk while this
Yeah.
activity is going on in the background.
Yep.
Now I have
Bobby's
another appreciation for it that I
Bobby
didn't
some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I'm like, come on, we got everything in there but baseball in that in that route. They'll say
craziness.
nothing about a hit no ball, catching nothing. They just talk about some root for the home team. That's it.
Yeah, which is so easy to do because as a non-sports person, I at least
Mm-hmm.
know that part. I'm like,
Yep.
okay, who's our team? Cool.
Right.
Okay, I'll pay attention to them the most and
Uh
clap me out.
huh. Uh huh.
That is wild. I have a whole new interpretation of this game
See.
and this random song.
Yep.
Hilarious. But back to the comedy. So, what is your? I guess I'll just put it at a top five.
Ooh.
Who's
No.
your top
I
five?
can't do that.
Yeah,
Oh
you can.
no. Mm-mm.
Why
I'm
not?
not ready for a top five. Oh.
The thing is, when
Oh.
people
Oof.
always, myself included, when you make
Mm.
a big deal
Mm.
about it, I feel like
I
it's
gotta
more
write this
about how
down.
you think people are going to respond
Uh
to your
huh.
choices versus
Uh
what your
huh.
choices actually are.
Uh-huh. Hold on.
Because
I got a pen. I'm
people
writing.
know.
I can't. Okay. Um. Okay. Hold on. Hold on. It's like so many genres. Like there's so many different
There's lots of genres.
eras.
So,
Like
like,
there's
who do you
so
actually like?
many.
Who do you go back to often? Like, who
Eddie
are you
Murphy.
listening to on a
Eddie
regular
Murphy.
basis? Okay.
Eddie Murphy. His structure was ridiculous.
Hmm.
Eddie Murphy was like 20 years old, killing it.
Yeah, he was definitely on that prodigy level.
He put on like an hour and a half show.
I
He's
didn't
like
realize he was
20.
20 though.
He's
So he
like
was 20
20,
when he did
21.
Delirious or
I
the
think
other one.
so. He was very young. Like
That's
not
crazy.
25. He wasn't 25.
Mm.
Of course, like Kevin Hart. Some people roll their eyes at him like you
I really
cannot
prevented myself from doing it because I was like, that's not right. Let me
because
help
we
myself.
he's LeBron James in us right now in comedy. That's what it is. People getting getting a little lax and not understanding that ain't nobody else coming after him like this in probably quite some time. Kevin Hart has never repeated another joke.
So I didn't realize that he didn't do that. I didn't, but also I have to be honest and say that I have not sat through a special in a while.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the one that he came out with during COVID. Like I listened to it in the background,
Mm-hmm.
and I was deeply agitated with him because I
Mm-hmm.
was at a point where I was very hyper anxious about the pandemic, and he was too
Mm-hmm.
cavalier for me, and I was like, "Wow,
Mm-hmm.
you really fucked up."
Yeah.
But that
But he
was me
was,
taking it personally.
that was him showing up too. Like you
True.
can't tell me he's not he's the hardest working comedian out there. I can't think of
I
anyone
would
else but the
say
hardest.
because he's on everything all the time. Like you cannot
Everything.
escape him. I did like the show with Wesley Snipes though. The
Oh,
dramatic
oh, oh, yeah,
series.
yeah, yeah,
That was fabulous. I thought they did a really excellent job with
yeah.
that. I was like, this is the best thing Kevin Hart done did in a million years.
Uh
That
huh.
and Real Husbands of Hollywood.
Uh huh. But
Those two things for me, I'm like, if you don't do nothing else,
the
I appreciate
dude
those
just
things.
works and work. Like
Yeah.
you can't deny him.
Mhm.
That was
Okay, so
two
we got
people.
Eddie Murphy, Kevin Hart.
Yep. Now this may be controversial. I would say Chappelle, given
Oh,
what
why is
he
that
had.
controversial?
I have not watched his recent stuff, so I heard a lot of
Oh,
negative press about it. So that's why I'm
yeah.
thinking it's rather controversial, mainly because I'm not
Mhm.
privy to exactly what has been said.
Yeah,
But
you need to catch up so you
he's
can
up
have your
there.
own thoughts about it.
Yeah, I would definitely have my own thoughts.
Mhm.
Um, and let me that's three people who always catch my attention. D. Ray Davis.
Yeah, D-Ray
He
is
always
really
gets me.
good.
He always grabs my attention. But there's just so many like the Red Foxes,
Mhm.
Dick Gregory.
Yeah.
He was like people don't realize Dick Gregory was a comedian because
Mhm.
his comedy reflected what he saw in life, and at some point shit wasn't that funny. So he started reflecting how it really wasn't that funny, and
Mhm.
his comedy changed. So that kind of derailed me. I feel remiss if I just have just all black male comedy top five, but
Mhm.
I know there's some other folks in there.
Girls still
Definitely,
jokes.
absolutely, women are phenomenal. Tiffany Haddish is phenomenal. I think
So one of
she's.
my exes would literally like impale themselves from hearing you say that because he hates Tiffany Haddish, and it's an argument that we have on a regular basis. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, not a regular basis, but back then, because I'm like, well, I can understand why you don't think certain things she does is funny, but the vitriol, I'm like, it's a little
Mm-hmm.
extreme because
Mm-hmm.
it's lots of people that ain't that funny that's out here getting it. I'm
Hel-
just like, let her get some too. Shit.
let her get it in. Have you read her book,
Yeah.
the Black Unicorn?
I have not, but I need to. I just love her
Audio
in general.
audio book, please, and just let me
Okay.
know
I
because
like the audio.
it's her reading it, and
Yeah.
she's ridiculous, and
Yeah.
she's hilarious. So I think that kind of ends. There's
Hmm.
so many more folks on there,
Yeah.
like yeah, but the top five, Tiffany has to be included
Hmm.
because I love black women.
I mean, they're pretty phenomenal for sure. Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid list. Chappelle for me, Chappelle is complicated because he is absolutely one of my favorites, period.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think he is one of the greatest to ever do it.
Mm-hmm.
So every accolade, everything I feel is like well deserved. My frustration with him definitely stems from the fact that I feel like he he has made certain choices in the past couple specials that I feel like really cheapen the level of artistry that I feel like he's capable of
Mm-hmm.
by taking like the I'm going to talk about gender in a way that is very like antiquated and just like
Mm-hmm.
flat out like not intelligent. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you're smart enough to understand this shit.
Mm-hmm.
So why? take that route with the joke. So that's the part that's
Mhm.
frustrating because there's so many different things I felt like in the past couple specials I felt like he could talk about that I was like, why is this not your material? Also, like, I'm not in charge of your material, but I find it very
Mhm.
odd that
Mhm.
instead of talking about like because he would hit on his town, so he lives in Yellow Springs, and I
Mhm.
went to go visit Yellow Springs twice actually. One, I went to go and see the show in the cornfield,
Mhm.
and then I went just for a weekend to wander around because I was just curious about this place. I was like, let me just wander around, and end up having a friend that lived there, so
Uh
they could
huh.
show me around the village and different stuff like that. So his place where he lives is so it's just such this like little strange pocket of the world.
Uh
And
huh.
I was like, you could do a whole fucking like
Mhm.
thing about that and talk about the people and just some of the weird like nuances around race and stuff like that. So I was like, that would be amazing, but you want to talk about trans people. Like I just thought it was like strange.
Mhm.
And talk about trans people in a way that's like very unintelligent. I was like, you are better than that.
Mhm.
But it's crazy because he came out with this documentary that I don't know if Netflix is ever gonna put it
Uh huh.
on the platform because of all the trans drama with Dave Chappelle. Um, but the documentary is phenomenal because I went to go see it when he came to Indianapolis to show it
Mhm.
and held us hostage in Greenbridge for like
Uh
six
huh.
hours.
Uh
But
huh.
it's another story for another day. But they played the documentary and it's literally amazing and it shows the whole story of like what was happening in his town during the protest and how like him and his friends basically made this whole like um colony of themselves where they hold out in Yellow Springs during the pandemic
Huh.
instead of being in LA and shit. So it was like it was amazing and I'm like, see,
Yeah.
this is what makes sense. Like the tree and stuff, I'm just like, Dave, like, if you don't feel like you can talk about it well enough, just leave it the fuck alone.
Mhm.
Like, why even bother? And then create all this like unnecessary foolishness when you could just be the shit. Like, you could just be fucking Dave Chappelle. But I mean, I guess he still is anyway, because nobody stopped going to anything. The tickets kept
Yeah.
selling, so it's like it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Um, which is another strange thing I wanted to bring up and get your opinion on.
Uh huh.
So I was listening to this podcast right before we came on,
Mhm.
and they were talking about how these comedians are so like hell bent on talking about gender and things like that in a way that doesn't make sense. And like, you know, it's career suicide at this point. Like, why do y'all keep doing it?
Mhm.
And it got me to thinking, like, what if you're a person that literally has everything in the world and you're just like, I just want to see what it feels like to like fuck this up, like to self sabotage because I'm bored.
Uh huh.
I'm
Uh
like,
huh.
I wonder if that's part of it. Like, are you just
Yeah.
bored?
I think. I think a lot of it is people just can't wrap their minds around that they can't do something.
Mm, that makes sense.
They
Yeah.
just can't wrap their minds around it.
Like people
Like
that want to use the N word, and it's
they,
like
yeah, they
you
just
literally
can't.
cannot.
Right, they just and you can explain why, and they just kind of like, yeah, but can I? He's like, no, you can't do it. And I think a lot of folks who have been privileged throughout our lives, it's hard. It's harder for us to make those adjustments. So
Mm.
it's harder for us to. If someone were to say, Muhammad, you can't say that word. I'm probably whatever the word is. I'm like, well, why not?
Like automatically
Yeah,
because of like the man thing, or
yeah. Primarily, if someone said, Muhammad, you can't do this, I'm like, why can I not do that? And if I've
wow.
been privy to getting whatever I want overall, I'm gonna see nothing wrong with me getting what I need. What I
Mm.
need. So for some folks, they just can't wrap their minds around. It's like, no, you really can't say it in the office. How many folks are getting hot water because
Mm.
they're like, oh, you mean that? You mean what you mean? And if we were to say some stuff now, for some folks, it would be complete surprise to them. You say, no, you really can't grab Susan in
Yeah.
the office. But
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think I had to tell you this, Bob. But you're gonna have to keep your hands to yourself. And for Bob, that may be like, oh, I had no idea. Never crossed my
Mhm.
mind that I can't grab her by her waist and say,
Yep.
"Excuse me, I'm
Yeah,
trying to get
because
by."
he's been doing it. Bob's been doing it for
He
a
watched his
gazillion
daddy do
years.
it. That's
Yep.
how Daddy met Bob's mama. So it's hard for him to wrap that
Poor
around. I'm
woman.
by no means am I saying it's okay for Bob to do whatever the hell he wants to do, but
Yeah.
Bob ass don't know,
Mm. Yeah.
or or he don't care enough. Like there's nothing, there's not enough pieces in here to make him say, "Ma, you can't do that."
Yeah. That is intense. And I wonder, like, as a, mental health professional,
Hmm.
when you're working with men, like, are they like what kind of things do you do to try to help them understand that if these things come up? Like, do these
Hmm.
conversations come up where they're just like, I just don't get it?
Rarely will that happen.
That's
Be-
disturbing.
because that takes insight what you just did there.
Okay. All
You know
right.
what I mean? Because usually they don't see it. It's
Got it.
usually I'm catching someone. I only like use his language or really out loud. I'm like, yeah, and this bitch said blah 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 blah. I'm like,
And they
wait,
just are like that in the session.
yeah,
And they're
yeah,
just like, yeah, that's wild.
and I'm like, hold on, but I don't want to shut down, right? Because
Yeah.
clearly they're opening up, but also
Mm-hmm.
I'm challenging you on this language here. So now it's kind of coming to like, oh, I said something that maybe it's bringing attention to something. Maybe that's what
Mm,
your wife was talking about when she said she felt disrespected because you kind of called her a bitch for not doing X, Y, and Z.
mm, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow, that's deep.
But they don't know. Like people, we just I'm not. By no means I'm going to say that's just men. That's people.
Oh, for sure.
That's
Yeah.
people. Because I get a lot of folks. The word bitch is something else, is it not? Like we be throwing it around like it's
Yeah.
our
Like
first
it's just
and
all
last
willy-nilly.
name. I'm
And
like, you realize that's literally dehumanizing us. You realize that it's
it
literally
is. It
dehumanization.
is. And it's challenging to me because it's a word that I mean, most words I don't bother me at all. There's a very short list of the ones that do.
Hmm.
So,
Context too, but still, yeah.
yeah, the context
Hmm.
absolutely matters.
Hmm.
Um, but it is challenging because you get into this phase where it's just like, oh, it's just whatever, and not realizing like to other people that might be a little sensitive, so maybe like
Hmm.
conduct yourself differently. Um, but yeah, there's a lot. And you would think that with some of the stuff that we've experienced, like it would make us more insightful and think about like how we deal with one another.
Hmm.
And um yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not really I don't know, we just have a lot more work to do basically when it comes to that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I want to also talk to you about spirituality.
Hmm.
That's one of my favorite things to talk to people about on this
Okay.
show also. So, just you mentioned earlier you grew up in a Muslim household
Hmm.
and are you still practicing?
I hope so. Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to say,
I'm trying to make it through. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I am. Yes, I
got
am.
it. Got it.
I'm a
So,
jackass.
you are so silly. So, what role do you feel like it plays in like your life and your like perspective on how you see
Hmm.
the world?
Hmm. Literally, it's a framework. It's a guide. It's a yeah. I look at it as it's pretty much as a framework primarily. Like if
Mhm.
I'm looking for overall guidance, that's where I can always go to. Like an absolute solid answer is like, I don't know, Muhammad, what would you do? Like if it's up to me, the rail's a whole different place. But if I go to my framework, it keeps me in bounds. It
Mm.
really does. Because if I didn't have, in my personal opinion, if in my personal experience, if I didn't have faith, I'd be a completely different person. Like I'm moving completely different, like completely different.
Mhm.
I may be somewhere. I guarantee I'll be doing something different. I don't know what I'll be doing. It will be this.
I'm just like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad
I
thing.
don't think it's a good. I mean, I feel like it's a blessing where I am where I am.
Mm-hmm.
But I know for a fact if it wasn't for Islam in my life or in my parents' lives and influenced them to where they are, or from
Mm-hmm.
where they were, by no means I want to say they're coming from like some barbaric anything like that. But
Yeah.
it influenced their life a certain way. And if that structure wasn't there, I'll be a completely different person. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Islam because of them meeting through Islam. But um, yeah, but it gives me structure. It gives me gives me a sense of peace, and it allows me to not know all the answers.
Mm.
That's where I really think it gets peaceful. Like when I don't have to know every answer, or someone like going back and forth on what's right, what's wrong. Like, look, I ain't write this book, so I'm
This
going
is
off the
what my
book.
book says.
I'm going off what the Quran says. You got a problem with me? Don't take it up with me, because I don't care. I think people really get
The best
people.
position to be in. The I don't care. It's the very best.
Yeah, I'm like, it ain't up to me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I jokingly tell, I this is ridiculous. But I look at religion as like insurance, like car insurance.
Oh Lord. Okay, I need to understand this
They're like, all
analogy.
right, by no means I'm saying you can't be atheist. I'm not saying that. I do not want to come across as bashing anyone. But it's
Yeah.
like imagine getting to whatever gates you think you're supposed to get to or not get to, and they say, "Hey, what insurance did you have? Like, do you have Geico? Did you have like you got a car accident?" They're like, "What's your insurance?" You're like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I ain't got no insurance." They're like, "That's gonna cost you, buddy. It's gonna cost you.
Yikes.
You got to pay out of pocket. You're gonna have to pay out of pocket for this one. You ain't got no deductible or nothing."
Listen, which sounds awful. I have been without car insurance before and it cost me a lot of money and some
Yeah,
years of my
but
life.
or
Yeah.
spirituality. Like you need something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To me, I think spirituality and religiosity two different things. They could be intertwined,
Mm-hmm.
but they're two different things. Because I've met some atheists who are very, very nice. Their spirit is beautiful, and I met some people who are all the word and they're jerks,
Yep.
jackasses,
Yep.
mean spirited.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, I'm about to go hang out with the atheists. Is this how y'all gonna treat me?
Yeah, it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder because for me, growing up in a Christian household,
Mm-hmm.
still, practicing the Christian faith,
Mm-hmm.
there is it had always blown my mind, and I also have to recognize the ways that I fall extremely short of what Christ's example is, but it always amazed me the people that were so like staunch, like dedicated to the thing, but had like no room for anyone else or like no level of compassion for
Mm-hmm.
anything outside of
Mm-hmm.
like their very small little
Mm-hmm.
box of the world. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just awful because I'm like, I feel like the things that you learn and the little bit that I understand about Islam, and I have a Quran, but I don't know how to read it, so I haven't started reading it
Get
yet.
an English
But
one.
it
Get
is
what?
in English.
Okay.
It is in English, but okay, this is a very quick sidebar. The person that gave it to me, I
Uh
was at
huh.
this festival and they
Uh
gave
huh.
it to me and they were like, "Yeah, you got to start here and then do this and then I was like, and I
Oh,
forgot what they
open.
told me.
Read what you want to read.
So just start from what the first page?
Start. I would, but you know, the Quran reads from right to left. I mean, I'm sorry,
Now, I
Arabic.
did
I mean,
understand
Arabic
it was
reads
in
right to left. So
Arabic.
it's going to be.
Yeah.
Chances are, it's going to look like it's going backwards. So yeah,
All
start on
right.
page one and get to reading.
All right, cool. So I'll just do that
All
then.
these rules. That was an unnecessary rule.
It wasn't a necessary rule and I just kind of absorbed it and I was like, okay, so when I get time
Right now, it's a
to figure
barrier.
that
You
out,
could have been
then I'll
read.
go back.
Now you
Yeah,
got yeah.
yeah, it's
Now.
literally sitting like right. I'm looking at it right now. But the little bit that I do understand about
Uh-huh.
Islam, and a lot of it is because of like getting to know different people over the years, like you and your brother and your dad,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
other people that I've met throughout the years. I'm like, it's such a beautiful faith, and I would not understand why somebody would take it and be like, so now I'm just going to be like a jerk about it. Same with
Mm-hmm.
Christianity. I'm
Yeah.
like, used properly,
Mm-hmm.
it's a very beautiful thing. So it's always so frustrating when people take whatever it is they have. Even going back to earlier, we were talking about the mindfulness. So
Mm-hmm.
there's people that are more into the new age and the mindfulness movement that are like judgmental as fuck to everybody else because they not doing it the way they think it's supposed to be done, or
Yeah.
they're not
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, can we not? Like, could we just not?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, there it is. Everybody, I should say everybody, that's an overstatement. But folks feel like they gotta have all the answers.
Yeah.
And you have to be right.
What do you think that's about as somebody that completely hates that?
I think people who have to be right, that's their anxiety telling them if they're wrong, they are going to perish. If they're wrong, they're not going to make it. Or if they're wrong, if I'm wrong, that means you're right. And I don't know which one's worse, you being right or me being wrong. Because
Mm,
I have to be right. Because my anxiety tells me I have to be right at all times. It's like it
wow.
ain't even that deep. Like you could be wrong, or you can flat out just not. No, I cannot stress that enough. I love not knowing. It provides so much growth.
Yeah.
I jokingly tell people, imagine if I had to use the restroom really bad, and then I'm like, "Hey man, where's the restroom?" And you tell me, "Yeah, I know exactly where it is. It's over here," and it's not. You could have saved me so much time and anguish by saying, "I don't know."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because at that point you would have been forced to either decide to find it on your own or have a plan B.
Which was I could have had already if you hadn't just said, I really don't know. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know where it is. Thank you. I don't
Yeah.
know where it is. Now you know it's over here. We found out it's over here.
Mm-hmm. So for people that really struggle with that, what like simple tips could you offer to try
Mm-hmm.
to start breaking that up?
Yep. Biggest thing I stress, I got this from my supervisor back in the day. Choices versus control. Choice leads to more options. More options leads to power. More power. Control, particularly when dealing with other people, is going to lead to frustration. I guarantee it. Like I could put my top dollar on it. You'll be very upset at the minimum. Me trying
Mm-hmm.
to control something. Like for example, let's say this show, you said, Muhammad, I want you to answer these particular answers this particular way,
Oh yeah, that
and
would suck.
and then I'm like, actually, I'm going to do it this way. And now you're like, well, Muhammad didn't do exactly what I wanted. Now I'm frustrated with him because he didn't answer the exact way. Versus on the opposite end, it's like, well, what are my options? If I'm going to throw Muhammad some questions, or I'm give him a few prompts. He's going to answer a certain way. I don't know what he's going to do. He may answer it short. He may answer it long. He may answer it right on the head. He may go over here. I could follow him there. I could redirect him over here. I got all these just option after option after option after option after
Mm-hmm.
option versus the only control being Muhammad must answer it this way.
Mm.
Like, well, shoot, good luck. And you can apply that to anything. That could be from your kids wearing what you want them to wear for school to partnerships. You say you could be home at 7. Why is you at home at 7:30? You liar, you cheater, you like all of these things. Like just apply that.
Yeah.
Choice versus control. That really helps me explain that to folks. You can't control that anyway. Might as well get some options.
Mm-mm. Yeah. Yeah, that is powerful and so helpful. You're smart and funny, and
Thank
I'm glad that
you.
I know you.
Thank you. It all started back at
Yes.
Broad River High School.
Oh, Broad Ripple. I spent a very short time
I
at
know,
Broad
and I was
Ripple.
there. I remember you being there.
That is
I
hilarious.
remember.
You do?
Yes, that's where I remember you from. I got a weird memory. I remember
That
you.
is so random. So I need to know for my own weird purposes. Because I don't really remember a lot about being at Broad Ripple.
Uh huh.
So
The
what do you
baseball team
remember?
was phenomenal. That's what you did.
Okay. I will remember that. I will remember that and keep that in mind.
Revisionist history. We were
Clearly,
undefeated. We went 15-0. We finally lost the game. I said, "Dang it, I'm resilient." So I stuck it out.
resilient. That
But
is
the question was
fabulous.
like, how were you in
basically because
What was I
the stuff
doing?
that I do remember, I'm just like, yeah.
I, I I think I got you about like 2 years, right? I think I was a junior, you were a
Mm-hmm.
freshman. So what I recall
Sounds
is
about right.
you were a student like everybody else, fitting in with everybody else. I remember you at homecoming parade. This is weird stuff. I got like
I went to the
odd
homecoming
memory.
parade. Damn. See, these are some of the reasons why I wish now, as much as social media gets on my nerves, there are
Mm-hmm.
parts of it that I wish existed back then because I
Mm-hmm.
don't even remember going to the homecoming parade.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
I'm like, I'm
And
gonna have to access that memory.
yeah, you're a pretty cool person for what you didn't stick out in any bad way. You know how many people were in school? Like about
A
1,500.
gazillion. Yeah, there were a lot of kids,
There's a
but I'm
lot of
like,
students.
yeah, there wasn't. Sticking out was not my forte at that point in my life, anyway. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
definitely prefer the opposite.
Yeah.
As much as I could get.
But I
Yeah,
remembered you like when I saw you like that's Ebony. So
Ebony
I think you were
being Ebony.
I think you were just similar to who you are today. Maybe I don't know. You
That's
can
possible.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, that's it's just so crazy. When you think back about stuff because I when I was there I wanted to do the dance magnet and I got accepted into the dance
Mm-hmm.
magnet and then my parents moved and I had to go back to middle school. That was the most
Mm.
frustrating thing ever because I really wanted to go to Broad Ripple
Uh huh.
because of the arts and humanities.
Yep. Yep.
And
I was an
then
art magnet. Yep. I was in visual
okay,
arts. Yep.
awesome. Yeah, so I wanted to do that kind of stuff and then they're like, "Okay, we're moving back to the west side." So,
Mm-hmm.
I had to go back to middle school cuz
That put
middle
you back
school
in middle
was still
school.
a thing. And at that time, Wayne Township, ninth grade was middle school. And it was
Oh
so frustrating because
yeah.
I'm used to
Yeah.
this high school environment and we can get
Yep.
up and go do whatever we want. And then
Yep.
to move to middle school, they're like, you're going to get dismissed by tables. And I'm like,
You'd be like,
I do not
wait.
need you to do that.
Yeah.
I
That's
know how to get in line and get food. Like,
yeah. That's wild.
it was
That's wild.
terrible.
Yeah, that is a not necessarily a step back, but I hear you. You know what I mean? Socially, probably like,
It felt
what?
like a step back
I
for
bet you
me.
look at that post like, don't talk to me, y'all. You don't have to. You don't have to speak to me. You don't want to.
No. And it was weird because
Ah,
I felt like Broad Ripple was a home for like a lot of different thinkers.
yeah.
Like I got exposed to
Mm-hmm.
so many different people there.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this one guy in math class that was my very first time getting a palm reading because he was like, "Oh, I'm learning how to read palms. Can I read your
Why
palm?"
not?
And I was like, "I'm fine. I
Why
don't care."
not? Sitting in the algebra class, he like
Literally.
getting your palm read. Now,
Get my palm read.
did the palm read end up with you kind of like dating him? You know, he probably hitting on you like, let me read your palm.
No,
You're reading your
no,
palm.
he was just being sweet. He was just being sweet, and he was very accurate. So whatever he learned was right, because he like definitely read some things properly. But yeah, I wish he would have told me that I needed to be studying more because I failed that class. So
Mm-hmm. All them palm
all them
reading.
palm readings.
Yeah. He knew he was doing. He trying to. Hey.
Goodness. That is hilarious. But yeah, so this has been a really great conversation.
Same.
I
Same.
appreciate you. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Where can people connect with you on the interwebs?
Okay. So I'm kind of old school. People can
I noticed
email
you didn't
me.
have an Instagram. Have you started that
I'm
yet?
not. I haven't. I know I'm supposed to, but I just.
Get an intern.
I don't know. You're the second podcast within a week and a half to tell me get it together. You told me to get it together about 2 years ago. I was like,
I did.
I'll do Facebook. I'm on Facebook.
Because I'm like, if I'm going to have you on the radio, I have to be able to point people somewhere when you're
Point
done.
people to psychologytoday.com.
Got it.
Look me up, Muhammad Saahir. People can find me on Facebook, the Blue Sofa Counseling Services, TBS Counseling Services. The Blue Sofa has its own page. Don't friend request me as a regular person. Like I'm not going to accept it. Just
Listen,
I'm like, yeah. But hey, I'm with you about therapist. Like, we could do this another way. Also,
listen.
email me Saahir at tbscounseling.com. Give me a phone call, 812-391-2697. If you forget all that information, you just look me up on Psychology Today. Maybe I'll start posting. I don't want to knock anybody for anything that they're doing. I just
Mhm.
don't want to come across as like Richard cliche therapist. Here's 5 tips for today on how to stay sane. I just don't
You
want to be that
know,
guy.
I definitely hear you because I think that stuff is very annoying and I resist the urge to fall into certain boats because
Yeah.
I'm like, why would I do
I'm
that?
clear. But I am certified to do that. You know, I have the. It kind of makes
Mhm.
me eye roll when I see people who have not one credential doing these things. I'm like, now wait a
And there's
second.
lots of them. There's lots
Yeah,
of them. Like you could do it so easily. Like if you so
look
my
at you, look at
sisters
you, look at you set me up. Go ahead.
I
I'm
know.
listening. You can do it.
So I'm just throwing this out there,
Uh
but
huh.
yesterday my sisters made me download TikTok. I have not
They
done
they
anything.
want. I got a few clients. If you got a TikTok, you got
They really want it,
to.
and they're like, "Oh," and I'm like, "What would I use it for?" And they're like, "You could just do the stuff you normally do and just go on there all the time and like record yourself." And I'm like, "I'm not gonna do that
That
because I
sounds like
think
a lot
it's
of work.
weird." It does sound like a lot of work. I'm like, "Do you realize what it takes to put myself in front of a camera?"
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't understand. Like, there are multiple steps to this, and then I have to talk myself through the steps. On top, it's a whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I'm like, y'all are on there making full out productions. I'm not gonna do all that. Like, I'm just not gonna do it.
Yeah.
But I do think you would be good on TikTok.
I
Like,
think I
I think
would.
you would
I
blow
guess
it
I want to
up.
be because here's the thing. Okay,
Yeah.
this is ridiculous. I think there's a formula, and I fit a lot of the criteria. Not to honk my own horn.
No, you do.
I'm tired of seeing, but it happens. Younger black men who are attractive,
Mm-hmm.
who can put a few sentences together, out there giving unsolicited advice. I mean,
Yeah.
unsolicited. And I just don't want to be in somebody wearing a baseball cap, driving my car, talking about, and what I need to be doing is. I feel like I feel like it happens.
You need to be buying these NFTs
What you
and
need to be
this
doing is like, see, what I
yeah.
look for in a relationship is like, oh man,
Listen, the
I could do it.
masculine
I
alpha
could do it.
male.
I could do
Yeah.
it. I got all the stuff. I think I'm
Hmm.
witty enough to put it together. I just don't want to
Yeah.
play. I just don't want to play it in people's faces like that. But yeah,
But I don't think you have to because I feel like even you talking the way that you are now and you're like, look, I'm not trying to be another one of these,
don't put.
fill in the
Uh
blank.
huh. Uh huh.
I feel like that would make people gravitate toward it even more. Not us working out your whole social strategy on this
I
show. But long
know.
story short,
You
I
are
just
my
feel like
agent at this point. Go ahead.
I mean, yeah, that's one career that I did want to have at one point, and then I was like, artists are too frustrating. No, thank you. I give
Uh
up on
huh.
that. But I think just like confronting like the ridiculousness of it is like a way because it's like being counter whatever the thing is,
Mhm.
and people are attracted to that too. Like
Mhm.
I do very subtle amounts of that on social media because there's certain trends I will never fucking do. Like I'm not going to do the thing where you like because I think it's weird.
Uh
So
huh.
like the thing where someone records me like or I record myself like walking into a building and it's like motivational quotes or like I'm walking down the street
Mhm.
into a car and you're following me into the car. Or this one was making its
Mhm.
rounds. I show you how I make my bed in the morning and pour a cup of coffee and wash my face
Uh
and
huh. Uh
and I'm
huh.
like I'm never going to do that. It's weird.
Uh huh.
But I understand why people do because now it's like okay, I'm someone of influence and people care what I do, so I'm going to show them that and then it's a whole thing and for me I'm just like I reject every
Mhm.
piece of it. Every piece of it is rejected because before 8 years ago, I was barely functional on social media. Like I knew how
Mhm.
to use it, but I did
Mhm.
not use it very often. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
to go from that to then being like, I'm gonna show y'all how I pour a cup of coffee and wash my face, like that's never gonna be
Mm-hmm.
a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I say all that to say being counter the thing is something that works too. So you wouldn't have to be like the Derek Jackson, the Muslim
Uh,
Derek Jackson,
I'm brother Jackson's sister.
Brother Jackson,
Brother
yeah, or
Jackson.
the Muslim Kevin Samuels. You
Oh
would never have
Lord.
to do that.
Say, sisters, 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 get it together. Get it together. Get it together. Ah.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
terrible. It's
But yeah,
terrible.
I think
But yeah,
yeah. Well, we shall see. I guess
we
I
should
could start with I'll just make a Facebook post and say, "Hey, I was I was on a podcast today with Ebony."
You could just wait until it comes out. I wouldn't make you do that twice because what torture? It's like doing it the one time is enough.
Uh huh.
Like honestly, it's fine. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. But either way, you're doing well.
Yes.
Helping people
And I'm so proud
and
of you. I'm so proud of
thank
you. You could
you.
be out here just doing stuff and then talking to people and then don't say nothing about yourself.
No, because I really love people too, even though there are certain things about people that infuriate me.
Mm-hmm.
But that's more so about my own like chemical makeup as opposed to like if people really being that infuriating. But
Yeah.
because I'm fascinated by them, I love to do things like this. And I also I just feel like there's just certain conversations I always wanted to have, and in my former like jobs and stuff there just was not space for that, but I
Mm-hmm.
would do it anyway because I was good for either pre-interview or post-interview being like, okay, so let's talk about all this other shit.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So now I'm just like, okay, so I'll just do a thing where I just get to do that and see where it goes. um but I appreciate you being a
Mm-hmm.
part of this experiment 100%.
Yes. Yes. You know
Yeah,
I got your back. And you know I got you. So yeah.
thank you.
Anytime.
All right. Well, I'm gonna hold you to that because we're gonna have to do this again at some point and talk more
Yeah.
about comedy and shit because I feel
Okay.
like that would be a good one.
Let's do it. But
Awesome.
you have to be on the show with me.
So before we can do that, I have to be on a comedy show with you.
Yeah, that could be on the
All
show.
right. Okay, cool.
We'll make it happen.
Let's work that out. We can figure that one out. So let me stop recording this so then we can do that. All right.
Yeah,
Thanks,
yeah.
Mohammed.
All right.
All right, all right. Thank you so much, Mohammed, for such a beautiful conversation. I want to encourage you guys to connect with him online. I'll drop links in the show notes to where you can find out more about him and his work. You can connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Ebony the Writer. You can also check out my website, ebonychappelle.com. As always, have a great time and a positive life, y'all. Peace.